It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And remember that when you're trying to make a decision affecting your wallet, we've got great resources, content, advice for you at clark.com. I am so proud of our hardworking team that all they do is try to give you advice that will empower you to act in your own best interest for your wallet. In today's episode, I got a counterpoint to something I've talked about recently about renting versus buying. I've talked twice recently about the advantage of renting right now instead of buying a home. And what matters over the long term? I want to give a different perspective. So also, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. I want to share some great news for you if you're in the jewelry market, specifically diamonds. And I want to share with you a deal I got recently for my wife for her birthday, which she is beyond ecstatic about. So this is not great, what I'm going to tell you. There's new data out that shows what kind of money people have as a net worth who are renters versus people that own a home. And these numbers are really uncomfortable for me to share with you because specifically lately, I've talked about the difficulty for a first-time home buyer buying a home and how right now renting is so very much cheaper than buying a home. But when you look at people that roughly more than a third of people rent, the other low 60% own or are buying what they live in, the average renter in the United States has roughly 10 grand of net worth. The average homeowner in the United States has a net worth of near $400,000, 40 times as much. So where is that gap? Part of it is that overall, renters have a lower income overall than people buying a home. But that doesn't account for this full gap. What accounts for this gap, in part, is that buying a house is a forced method of saving. Not the most efficient method of saving, but it's a forced method of saving. Because all through the years, you're building up equity, most people in a 30-year mortgage. So very slowly at first, in later years quicker, you're building up equity in your life. You're building up net worth in your life. Doesn't happen right away. It's very gradual. And real estate has a lower net return over time, the averages show pretty clearly, than investing in companies. So if you look at returns from people going into simple retirement plans at work or doing your own Roth IRA and you're in a target retirement fund, over the years, those are going to have much higher returns than what you earn from a house. But here's the thing. You don't pay your mortgage, you don't stay. So the mortgage, overwhelmingly, people get that paid every month. And it forces you to save money for your future. As inflation carries the value of the home higher, your payments over the long term bring the balance lower. That difference is the equity, the net worth you have. So There are a lot of people for very practical reasons, not because of what's going on with the housing market right now, who it's better in their lives to rent. Maybe they're not settled in a particular place in the country, and so they're renting. They're going to move somewhere else, whatever. Here's the hard part. You close this gap for people of equal incomes when you methodically save money for your future in a investment plan at work, a retirement plan at work, in your own Roth IRA. That's the key that is missing for so many people. That if you look at middle-class Americans, there tends to be very little money saved in retirement accounts, investment accounts, even in regular savings. The wealth that they develop over time in most of the middle class is from that forced savings in a home. What I'm saying to you is no, that's the consumer behavior. That's our behavior as humans, and you got to swim against that tide. And if you need to develop wealth, which is great to have, it means you develop that automatic habit. Just as somebody pays a mortgage every month, you do automatic deposits into the retirement plan at work or into your own Roth IRA. You create what's the equivalent in your own life of automatic wealth building like somebody has with a mortgage. So it doesn't have to be owning a home. But for many people, that's the easiest, most direct path over the long haul to build wealth. Otherwise, you got to make yourself do it.
Okay, we'll go to questions. This one's from Janet in Georgia. I understand how Clark feels about extended warranties and maintenance agreements. Does he recommend a service/maintenance agreement on HVAC units? Mine has just increased to $855 annually.
Yeah, this is a huge profit center. Let me tell you what's been going on around the country with, let's say you've been with a heating and air conditioning company for a long time for maintaining your heating and cooling in your house and the systems in your house. A lot of these local heating and air conditioning companies have been bought up by private equity. And what the private equity owners are doing is they are paying for the purchase by running up the cost of these maintenance agreements and by forcing the repair people to become salespeople. And so they may, depending on how much pressure they're under, they may find that they're being pushed to recommend a repair you don't need, a replacement you don't need, or whatever. This is a big problem in the heating and air conditioning business. So first, back to your initial question, heating and air conditioning service contract is different than buying an extended warranty at an electronics store. This is something that you need to maintain, and truth be told, we forget to do that. So having a relationship ongoing with a heating and air conditioning contractor you trust is great. But what's important is you want to know if suddenly the annual fee went from $400 to $800, was there an ownership change? And you'll find often that there was. And so you may need to shop for a new HVAC company because you're in harm's way now with a private equity owner. Nothing good happens to you with a heating and air conditioning company once it changes from local ownership, family ownership, to private equity.
And I always keep filters in my home that I buy separately, so I don't have to buy them from them when they come to change. Changing the filters is really easy to do. Just as an aside, that saved me some money. Gary in Montana says, I have a large pension from the University of California, which I want to receive as a lump sum distribution. The only way to receive it is as a check through the mail. They send it via regular U.S. mail, and it's not certified. I am very nervous about a check in the mail for a large amount. Is there any way to get a wire transfer? They are also not set up for me to pick it up at their office.
Okay, first of all, that's crazy that you're talking about the University of California system, a huge operation, and they're still sending a pension distribution by check in 2025? Are they kidding? As for you, you don't have the worry or the risk they do. So the only thing you would face is a little delay if the check gets stolen in the mail. Gary, I'm going to go back to something else, though. You're taking the lump sum instead of taking a payment for life. Before you execute that decision, unless it's irrevocable and you've already done it, I'd love for you to sit down with a fee-only financial planner, not one that wants to manage your assets, but one who you pay a fee for his or her advice. We have organizations you can get referral to at Clark.com, and see whether the math of that pension is better for you to receive it as a monthly check or better for you to receive it as a lump sum. But it is kind of lame that they would send it with a check in the mail for what would be a very, very large amount of money, but know that you don't bear the risk. The state of California does.
V in Texas says, I was T-boned in an auto accident after shortly returning from deployment. Luckily,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're on deployment, fighting for our country, putting your life on the line. You come back, and then you're T-boned? Well, thank you for your service to our nation.
Luckily, I stopped and took pictures, and it was obvious I was not at fault. I have USA insurance, and I did inquire with them after the accident. From the pictures, they confirmed I was not at fault, and they would take care of me, or I can file with the person who hit me, their insurance. And then they put the insurance company name.
You did it exactly right down the line.
I inquired with the other insurance company, and for the most part, they took care of me after a much increased supplemental claim. Their initial estimate utilizing an app was very low. I have a 2022 Chevy Bolt, so I was very limited taking it to a shop that was certified Chevy shop.
Sure.
The repairs were not perfect on a bright white car, but it was good enough. I tried to file a diminished value claim toward the end, but they would not even entertain it, stating that the car was fixed at a shop of my choice and they wouldn't do anything else.
That has nothing to do with diminished value, by the way.
I'm thinking of filing a BBB complaint. Anything else you would suggest? My husband and I are in the Air Force and have been in for almost 20 years. I'm an immigrant, and we are both very grateful to serve in the world's greatest Air Force. Thank you, and keep being our financial and life mentor.
Well, V, thank you. And you say you're in Texas now. So the Texas Department of Insurance is who you need to call to see if law in the state of Texas gives you a right to seek diminished value. Certain states, diminished value is either something that has been instituted through the court system or through legislative process. No idea whether diminished value is a standard and customary practice with insurance or is legally required in the state of Texas. So I would start there, and let's see if there is a valid normal claim for diminished value in the state of Texas, because your vehicle, after being T-boned and having major repairs to it, will never have the same value as it had before, even after it's repaired. And the idea of insurance is you're supposed to be made whole. You're not without a reasonable payment for the loss in value in your vehicle. And that's why in many states, diminished value is part of the claims process. But if it's not in Texas, then they get away with it and you do not receive the amount of money you should, and you were harmed from the accident you didn't cause. So start there. Let's see what you find out, and then you proceed. The Better Business Bureau in a circumstance like this will not be of help. And coming up ahead, I want to tell you, the diamond market is going two ways at once. And we need to talk about it because with Valentine's Day coming up, people's birthdays, things like that, there's stuff you got to know. If you're looking at buying your sweetheart a diamond of any type, it could be an engagement ring, it could be a necklace, it could be a bracelet, it could be earrings, whatever. You got to understand the changes going on in the diamond marketplace, and nowhere more around the world than in the United States. De Beers, which is the biggest player in the diamond market, is sitting with a very, very large unsold inventory of traditional dug-out-of-the-earth diamonds. According to the Financial Times of London, they're sitting right now with $2 billion worth of diamonds that they, as a wholesaler, a cartel-type organization, can't get anybody to buy in the diamond business. And the reason is that consumers, one by one, are seeing the much better deals on lab diamonds than on dug-out-of-the-earth diamonds. Chemically identical, and the lab diamonds, because the production of lab diamonds is skyrocketing around the world, and the cost of manufacturing a lab diamond has fallen so much as production methods have improved that the price gap between a dug-out-of-the-earth diamond and a lab diamond, it's like never been like this. For my wife's birthday, I bought her from one of the lab diamond sellers. Each ear is 1 3/4 carat, so not quite 2 carat diamonds. Total weight 3.5 carats, 1 3/4 each ear. They are so beautiful and so sparkling that I got her these for, oh my goodness, she's going to know. Somebody tells her. It was $1,000. So she's wearing them after her birthday, and her mom is going crazy about these diamonds, that they're just magnificent. And so I call my father-in-law. I said, you got to get Martha a set of these earrings. She just is crazy about them. He said, well, they were a lot of money, weren't they? I said, no. And I've got a referral voucher.
Martha's worth it.
That cuts $200 off the price. Hopefully she doesn't hear this from anybody. So she got them for, was it $880, something like that. And they're just sparkling beautiful. Same week I see from Costco, they're selling 1 carat total weight diamond stud earrings. And 1 carat, this was 3.5. And the Costco ones were much more money for the 1 carat than the lab ones for 3.5 carat. I mean, the market is not equivalent anymore. And you cannot, you can't tell the difference because there's not a difference. They are chemically identical. And so you don't have to worry about, what was that stuff they used to call them, blood diamonds or whatever?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry that there's some war going on and an 8-year-old boy is living underground in dangerous circumstances, digging out diamonds and all that. These are made in a factory. Doesn't sound as
Could still be bad, but
romantic.
not as bad. Yeah.
What's that?
I said it could still be bad, but probably not as, horrific.
No, the diamond manufacturing is clean room kind of manufacturing, almost like when they make computer chips. So there's no abuses I've heard of anywhere, but I just want you to know that the price difference is so extreme now that there's now ads I'm seeing during football, and my TV's about to go
Dark.
Dead till September or late August if I watched the week 0 college games. Anyway, all these ads saying, buy her a real diamond. I just love this, that the jewelry industry is terrified of the truth. And so now they're trying to create this perception that you're cheaping out and you're buying somebody something inferior if you buy a lab diamond instead of a dug out of the earth diamond. No. Let me tell you, these things are a deal and they look great.
Duke in Georgia says, I received a modest payment through Venmo from the Verizon Administrative Settlement Administrator. Is this legitimate or a scam?
It's legit. The money people are receiving, you said a modest payout. I've been hearing funny amounts because people thought from the settlement notices they were going to get like $100 or something like that. People are getting $3, $5, whatever. Verizon was allegedly, they settled this without admitting, allegedly cheating people by having undisclosed junk fees on their monthly cell phone bill. And they settled the case, and so many people made claims or were eligible in the pool that the $100 became a couple of dollars. So Verizon paid the settlement. The lawyers took their cut. Consumers have their money, but there was nothing in it that compelled Verizon that I'm aware of to stop charging hidden junk fees. So just know that with a cell phone bill, what matters isn't what they tell you the monthly bill is, it's what they're actually billing you is what counts. So the payment you're receiving is the real deal.
Brent in North Carolina says, I bought a new vehicle last month with a 4.49% loan for 48 months.
That's fantastic.
They didn't have a 42-month loan option from my credit union. My savings rate from my online savings account is on its way down and likely to drop below the 4.49% very soon.
Yeah.
Should I pay off my auto loan when my savings rate drops below the loan rate? Is there a benefit to keeping the loan payments as is if it's not earning as much as the interest I'd pay on the auto loan? Some context. If I pay off the auto loan, I'll still have plenty of rainy day money left to last 6 to 9 months if I needed to pay for an unexpected expense. I max out my Roth 401k, contribute heavily to my kids' 529 accounts, and a Vanguard brokerage account. My mortgage is at 2.375% with only 5 years left.
Okay, this is a great story, Brent. What should you be doing? When interest rates do fall on savings to a point that there's a clear ongoing gap, you take that savings account money, you blow out the auto loan, you're done. Now, your auto loan at 4.49, other than one that the manufacturer is subsidizing, because yours is actually from the credit union, that's the lowest rate I've heard from anybody in a long time. The typical new vehicle buyer is going out the door with a 7% new vehicle loan. Used vehicle loans are in double digits now on average. That's a fantastic loan you've got. But if savings rates become really puny, do just what you said.
Okay, Andy in Ohio says, I recently discovered your podcast and I'm loving it as well as your website.
Thank you.
You are like the Consumer Reports magazine brought to life.
Oh, Consumer Reports hates hearing that.
On a recent episode, you were talking about how horrible timeshares are, and it really caught my attention. My sister-in-law has been a member at this big timeshare.
Oh, go ahead and say it, because I've talked about them in the past.
Club Wyndham for a long time, and the fees have gradually increased over time to $2,000 a month.
You sure that's not a year?
It's got to be a year.
Got to
It
be
says
a year.
that is not a typo. I'd never heard of anything
$2,000
costing
a
that
month?
much. Who would buy this from her? She says she still has a lot of points even after using some for a trip to Hawaii recently. Her husband said to just stop paying the monthly fees and forget about it.
No.
What happens if she does that?
Yeah, her credit will be ruined. She may get sued. You don't just walk away from paying, Andy, but I'm glad I had you say Wyndham, because Wyndham is really worried about all the sites out there that are trying to get people to contact them and they scam you or they charge you all kinds of terrible fees to try to get out of your timeshare. Wyndham actually on their website has a thing I think they call Wyndham Cares. Is that what it's called, Christa? Yeah. Wyndham Cares. And don't know yet till you talk to them if they really do care. But they don't want people to just stop paying. They don't want people to go to these third parties. And I think it's worth hearing them out, what they'll do, what the requirements would be to relieve her of her obligation on the timeshare. Now, your sister-in-law may love it. She may love having the Wyndham thing. She may hate it. So if she loves it, then I wouldn't talk to her about it. But if you know she's really frustrated by it and maybe would like to get rid of it, then this is what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think she is frustrated because it said her husband told her to just stop paying.
Well, because the fees are higher.
Yeah.
So then mention to him, go look at the website yourself, the Wyndham site, which is, let me see, I've got the Wyndham site here, wyndhamdestinations.com. And then along the top, one of the last things on the right-hand side is Wyndham Cares. Click on it, and let me see what propaganda they put here.
What great products these are that they have to have this whole thing.
Well, I mean, the timeshare thing is terrible. Here it is. Travel preferences or finances change. When they do, Wyndham Cares is here to help you find a solution that works for you now and into the future. So you may be wondering, what's in it for a timeshare seller like Wyndham or any of the other well-known brand names? They don't care about reputational harm. Many times what's in it for them is they get your stuff back in inventory. They turn around and sell it at retail again to somebody else. And that would be a good way potentially for her to exit. Who knows if they're going to charge all kinds of rip-off fees or whatever, but at least try that first. The worst thing to do, though, is just stop paying, or maybe worse, is to get ripped off by one of the scammers. But the thing with timeshares is I've always said, like a broken record, it's not whether you love your timeshare or not. It's what happens when you don't love it anymore. They're not something you can easily dispose of. And that's what makes timeshares a defective product, because they're easy to buy, but they don't have a real market to sell when you want out.
And you can always rent one from people who want to get out if you really want to stay there.
Or you can buy one from somebody where they pay you to take it over after they paid $20,000, $30,000 to buy it. They want out so badly, they'll pay you to take over their obligation.
Then you're stuck with whatever fees
You are stuck with it.
It's terrible.
You are stuck with it. But the worst is to pay the retail for it up front and then pay all the huge fees over time with no way to exit. At least if you get paid to take it over, you go in with your eyes open and you know you're paying all those fees, but you didn't pay anything to enter the obligation, if that's some kind of positive. But enough about timeshares. This is the time of year during February Ugly where people are much more susceptible to buying a timeshare. If you live in a part of the country with really terrible weather and winter looks like it's never going to end, and Andy, you're talking about living in Ohio where you've got that thing that looks like ceiling tiles over your head for months with the gray skies and the cold and all that. It feels like, when is spring ever coming? You're more susceptible, more vulnerable to being taken in a timeshare pitch. And the thing to do is to understand just taking a vacation when you want to, where you want to go, beats owning a timeshare every day of the year. And I hope you have great rest of your week and today. And know all week long, we have free one-on-one advice for you from a member of the Team Clark Consumer Action Center. Something we've done since, well, this is our birthday. February of 93 is when we started providing free one-on-one advice and guidance. To get that, go to clark.com/CAC. And every day, know what we're here to do for you. Give you ideas to save more, spend less, and don't ever let anybody rip you off. See you Wednesday.